Welcome to Updweller, where smarter home upgrades start. I'm Shelby, and today we are breaking down the best MaidPro alternatives so that you can make this decision more easily, more confidently, and without having to spend weeks of your own time doing research. If you've been looking into MaidPro yourself and something just isn't quite clicking, you're probably running into one of a few very specific problems that are sadly common when it comes to MaidPro. And that's actually where I want to start today, because if we get clear on what the recurring issues are with MaidPro, it's going to make it much easier for you to evaluate these alternatives before we get into them. So first is availability. MaidPro does have decent coverage on the East Coast, as well as in parts of the Midwest and the South, but if you're in Montana, the Dakotas, or Oregon, there is very likely just not a location anywhere near you. Second is their quote process. To get a price from MaidPro, you submit your information online, and then you just sit back and wait for someone to contact you. There is no way to get instant numbers, even a ballpark number, online through their website. Third is consistency with your cleaners. MaidPro does try to send the same ones out for each visit. They say that on their website, which I appreciate, but it's a best effort, not a guarantee. And so if your regular team is unavailable, you just get whoever's available. It's just how it goes. And fourth, scope. Where MaidPro really shines is with standard recurring home cleaning. So if you need carpet cleaning or move-out help or seasonal deep cleaning, they do offer it and they will give you a price for it, but it's not really their thing, and you're not really going to get the most bang for your buck if you choose to go that route. So from here, I'm going to cover 5 alternatives that each solve at least one of these problems extremely well. First things first, before we look at any of these options, there are 2 quick questions worth asking yourself that will help you get really clear about what exactly you want and don't want. Question 1, do you want to stay with a company-managed team? Which means that somebody else handles the logistics, the booking, and you mostly just let them in according to the schedule that you agree on? Or are you open to choosing your own individual cleaner and building that relationship and that rapport yourself? Question 2, are specialty services a factor for you? By that I mean things like carpet cleaning, seasonal cleaning, deep cleaning in general. Because where some of these companies perform best is in ongoing, standard, recurring cleaning, while others really shine when you need that random, once-in-a-blue-moon appointment. Now, keep your answers to those 2 questions in mind as we go through the options, because it's going to make it a lot quicker for you to figure out who to get in touch with and who you don't need to waste any more time on. So, with that said, let's get started. First up is Maids, and the single biggest reason this one makes my list is availability. Maids has franchise locations across almost the entire country, and so if MaidPro just doesn't operate where you live, Maids almost certainly does. Beyond that, though, the model is going to be pretty similar to what you were already looking at with MaidPro. It's a franchise, which means that pricing and quality are both going to depend on which specific location serves your area. And to get a quote, you're going to submit a form online, starting with clicking this button. And no matter how much detail you give them here, you're still going to have to wait for your local franchise to follow up, which is going to be by phone, text, or email, depending on how that specific franchise location operates. No matter what you do here, there is no way to get instant pricing. When I got the quote for my home, which is 4 beds, 3 baths with 2 cats who shed non-stop, bi-weekly service was going to be $300 per visit. And I would say you can generally expect somewhere between $150 and $400 or more per visit, but your specific home and where you're located are going to have a huge impact on what your price is going to be. And also similarly to MaidPro, on the satisfaction side, Maids has what they call the 5-star promise. Basically, if something wasn't clean the way you feel it should have been, you notify your local franchise within 24 hours of the cleaning, and they'll come back at no additional charge. In terms of getting the same team or the same cleaner for every visit, they don't address it in their FAQs here, but I was able to confirm that they try to send the same team or same cleaner, but it's not guaranteed. And then lastly, as for the cancellation policy, as you can see here, canceling or skipping a visit is going to require at least 72 hours notice to avoid being charged for that visit. So my honest summary and experience with Maids here is that if MaidPro's availability was the main issue, like they didn't have a franchise in your area, Maids is almost definitely going to solve that. But the quote process, the fact that there's some variability because every location is a franchise, and the lack of guarantee that you'll get the same team every time, those are all identical between Maids Maids and MaidPro. So if the quote process, the fact that it's a franchise, or the fact that you can't get the same team every time were your main gripes with MaidPro, you're going to want to look at one of the other options coming up. Next up is Maid, which has a very similar story to Maids and MaidPro. It's a national franchise. Pricing is quote-based, as you can see here. You get team-based cleaning, and there is no guarantee that you're going to get the same team every single time. And just like with Maids and MaidPro, when you request a quote, no matter how much info you put in here, they're going to follow up and want to get more info. Some locations even require an in-home estimate before they will give you any pricing at all. So once again, you can expect around, call it $120 to $450 per visit for recurring service, but your location and the specific layout and needs of your home are going to have a big impact here. For me, where Maid kind of stands apart from these other franchise options is their satisfaction guarantee. For them, it's known as the neighborly done right promise. The way this works is if something wasn't right, you contact your local franchise by the end of the next business day, which does give you a little more flexibility than you get with the 24-hour window that you get with Maids and MaidPro. And while you get a little bit bigger of a time window to notify them that there was an issue, what happens next is the same. They will come back to re-clean at no charge. I would say really the biggest thing to know with Maid is, like I said, that in-home estimate before they'll even give you a ballpark price. I ran into this myself when I was getting quotes. It's not universal across all franchises, but I would say it's worth asking as you get started whether that's how your location operates, if that's something that's going to bother you. Because for me personally, on the one hand, I get it. Of course you want to come in and actually see what my home looks like before you give me a quote instead of just relying on my uninformed opinion, right? At the same time, this isn't a bathroom remodel, it's house cleaning. So I'm the kind of person where I wasn't super comfortable with the idea of an in-home estimate. That's just me. All in all, I think Maid is really going to be best for someone who wants the familiarity and accountability that comes with working with a national cleaning company, but who is also comfortable working through an in-home quote process to get there. Next up is the Maids. This is the alternative I would point you towards if you want something that upgrades what MaidPro offers rather than just swapping like one similar brand for another. A few things in my experience really set the Maids apart from other options we've discussed so far. First is the scope. The Maids offers one-time cleanings, recurring maintenance cleaning, move-in and move-out cleaning, seasonal cleaning, holiday cleaning, carpet cleaning. There is a huge selection here. And while for me, my local MaidPro, Maids, and Maid locations were all willing to discuss one-off cleaning or kind of specialized services, it got astronomically expensive. Like we went from $300 to $800. So if you need something that's not just the standard come in every couple weeks and clean, this might be worth looking at. It also means that you would be able to have multiple specific services done with this one company instead of having to coordinate across multiple companies, which is always a headache. For me, another thing that sets the Maids apart is their cleaning process. They've got this 22-step cleaning process, and to be totally honest with you, Maid, Maids, and MaidPro all have similar checklists that they use as the standard. That's not what's unique here. Because while this is always nice to see, the unique thing here is that the Maids has partnered up with Mr. Clean. That means that even though you're hiring a franchise location, you are getting Mr. Clean products. You don't have to worry about them using something that you're unfamiliar with or that you've never tried on surfaces in your home before. Everything is going to be from this family of products. Said another way, to me, this partnership indicates a slightly more structured and intentional approach than companies like Maids, Maid, and MaidPro, who it's kind of up to the franchise what they use for the most part. The next thing that the Maids does a little bit differently is the team size that they send out. Typically for these other franchise options we've talked about, they're going to send 1, maybe 2 cleaners. The Maids, on the other hand, is typically going to send 3 to 4 cleaners per visit, which means your home gets done faster than if 1 or 2 people were working on it. The trade-off is that more people tends to mean a higher cost, especially with the extensive training that they give to each of their staff members. And so at the end of the day, the Maids tends to run on the more expensive side when it comes to pricing compared to the other options we've looked at thus far. They also do something slightly different from most franchises with their consistency. So rather than trying to send the exact same team every single time, each team of cleaners has what is known as a team leader. and they try to make sure that you see that same team leader every single time. That person is the one who is learning your home and is responsible for training and bringing up to speed whichever team members rotate through. So you're not getting the exact same 3 or 4 people every single time guaranteed, but this is a really thoughtful approach because for me, a big value of working directly with my cleaners is getting to build that rapport and them getting to know me and how I like things, and I get to know how they work best. So having this team leader be consistent, I think, is a really smart approach. And then lastly, in terms of availability, we've also got a little more availability here than we do with MaidPro as well. They're available in 43 states plus Washington, D.C., and they've even got some availability in Canada, such as British Columbia and Ontario. All in all, I think the Maids is really going to be best for someone who wants a structured, comprehensive cleaning company with a few more options than MaidPro, and if you're willing to pay a bit more than you might have been with MaidPro, because you are most likely going to be quoted higher than these other franchises we've talked about so far. And now next up is Handy. And if the part of MaidPro that frustrated you most was not being able to see a price without going through a whole long process, Handy is going to solve that really well. As you can see from what I've started in here, you're just going to enter in your home info, choose your cleaning frequency, and then the price will be right there before you commit to anything. Let me show you what I mean. So this already looks quite a bit different from the other quote screens that we've looked at for the other options thus far. Handy's plans, as you can see here, are set up as recurring commitments. So first you're going to choose how often you want your home cleaned, either monthly, every 2 weeks, or every single week. And then you're going to commit to either a 3-month, a 6-month, or a 12-month term. So you can get your home cleaned once a month for 12 months, once a week for 6 months, or any combination thereof. Generally, the longer you commit, the lower your per clean cost is going to be. And if you're not into the whole long-term membership thing, Handy also has this little-known Handy Select membership, where you can choose to pay either monthly or annually to unlock discounted cleaning. And now, I know you are still signing up for a membership, it's called the Handy Select membership plan, but the nice thing about it is you're more like paying for a discount. You're paying $10 to have the option to log into the platform anytime and book slightly discounted cleaning. You're not going to save as much money as you would if you were to lock in the commitment, but I do at least appreciate that we've got a couple options here. And so while the way that Handy is set up is quite a bit different from these more traditional franchise options, I do want to be clear that there are cancellation terms and fines to potentially be aware of, just like there are with the more traditional options. So basically, if you sign up for one of these plans and then you cancel it before the end of the contract, you are going to pay a $99 cancellation fee. And if you need to cancel just one specific cleaning you have scheduled, you're going to need to give about 24 hours notice or more, as same-day cancellations can mean that you still pay the full cost of that booking. Another little thing that I noticed in the terms and conditions that they don't make particularly clear here is that while yes, they do background check all of their professionals, they are only background checked when they join the platform. Handy does not actively monitor them on an ongoing basis, so the quality of your cleaner can vary a bit depending on who you end up with. And one last thing I want to be clear on here is that even though you can see the price immediately right here, you are not being paired with employees of Handy. When you hire MaidPro or Maids or Molly Maid or the Maids, the people who come to your home are employees who are employed by that franchise. When you work with Handy, you are being paired with local cleaners near you who run their own independent cleaning companies. And so the way that they do things is going to be completely case by case. There's no ongoing training, there's nothing like that. You can get the same cleaner every time if you choose to book the same independent cleaner. Totally your call. And so that would be the biggest difference between how Handy operates versus how the franchise platforms we've looked at thus far operates. All of this said, I think Handy is really great for someone who just wants to see the price, book online, and not have to make a phone call, not have to have an in-home visit, someone who really just wants a cleaner to show up and not have to worry about it beyond that. The one thing I want to point out here before we move on is that in terms of pricing, I'm not going to call this budget friendly. It's great that you can see the price, but Maids was going to charge me $300 every 2 weeks. If you wanted weekly for a year, you're paying $278.30 every single week. And so it's priced almost identical to these franchise options. I just wanted to make that clear, that it's a different format, but it's not really any different in terms of budget or what you're going to spend. And lastly, we have HomeGlow. For me, this ended up being my personal top pick for MaidPro alternatives. And here's why. One of MaidPro's biggest selling points is that they try to send you the same cleaner or cleaning team every single time. But as I mentioned at the start of this video, quote unquote trying is not any kind of guarantee. There is no promise and no guarantee here whatsoever. And you are very likely going to have to once again be explaining your preferences all over again. So HomeGlow solves that problem really, really well. Rather than being a locally owned franchise of a national brand, HomeGlow is an online platform much like Handy, where you browse independent cleaners in your area, read their reviews, choose the specific person you want, and book directly. Let me show you a little bit of how that works. First, we're just going to put in zip code. We'll see it's available. I've pre-filled some of my details here just to make this a little bit faster. And as you can see from the reviews here, it's really easy to book directly with someone that you like. You just rebook them every single time. There's no best effort about that. It is your choice every single visit. And now as for the pricing model, that is also going to be completely different from the other options we've looked at so far. You can do a one-time clean if you want, but they're really built to give you the best value for recurring cleans. So let's go with every 2 weeks. You'll notice that they say that we're going to get 3 hours of cleaning for $19 instead of $75. $75 is already a wild price because, again, Mary Maids quoted me $300, Handy was looking at about the same, so $75 for 3 hours is a deep discount. If we click to lock that in, they explain a little bit more about what you're signing up for here. What you're doing is signing up for the monthly membership called Forever Clean. This runs at $59 a month, and it unlocks deeply discounted hourly rates starting as low as $20 an hour. In addition to those $20 an hour rates, this first clean is going to be priced at $19 as an intro offer. And you can see a little bit more about how that works here. You've got the standard hourly rate, your membership unlocks a discount, so this is what you pay, but they still pay the cleaner the entire full wage. And that's a nice little detail that I like to see called out. And so now let me run you through the math that I ran for my own home. And I will say, even though all of this pricing looks great, and that for me in practice, the pricing has been wonderful, I love the price that I pay, that there are a couple things to understand before you sign up here. These are all broken out in the terms and conditions, but I'll save you reading the fine print and let you know what I've found out, which is that this $19 first clean that you see advertised is tied to the Forever Clean membership. So if you cancel that 6-month membership before the end, they are going to come back and ask you to pay full price for this cleaning. They calculate that at $35 an hour for however long that first visit was. So you could be looking at anywhere between $150 to $200 as a final fee, if you want to think of it that way, should you cancel before 6 months. Once you've made it through paying for 6 months, the membership switches to month, and you can cancel anytime with no penalty, no paybacks, nothing like that. Another trade-off here is that for me, I find HomeGlow is really best built for this ongoing discounted budget-friendly membership thing. You know, if you come in here, you can see that they do all of these things. They absolutely do offer one-time cleaning, same day, move in, move out, but it's not necessarily what they're built for. With one of these one-time services, you're not going to get the deep savings that you're going to get when you sign up for the ongoing recurring services. And so if what you need is really just a one-time, same day, potentially deep cleaning, move out cleaning, that type of thing, they do offer it here, but you might not get the most bang for your buck. I would encourage you to get a few different quotes from other companies if you were going to go with one of these instead of the ongoing membership. All in all, I think HomeGlow is really going to be ideal if you want recurring standard cleaning at a discounted price that really saves you serious money month over month and gives you the same cleaner every single time. If those are the two things most important to you, HomeGlow is what I would recommend, and that is the service that I am still using today. We have just covered a lot of ground, so here's how I would summarize everything that we've discussed so far. If MaidPro just isn't available where you live, then Mary Maids or Molly Maid are going to be the most straightforward swap that you're going to want to look at. With both of these, you have the same general model that MaidPro follows, but they have a wider reach and more availability across the US. And now, if you like the franchise model, but you want something that offers a little bit more services, bigger teams, a more structured cleaning process overall, then the Maids is very likely going to be worth the higher price point for you. If you want to see pricing before you commit and skip the phone call entirely, Handy will get you there. And if you want the same cleaner every single visit and upfront pricing and the best value for recurring cleaning, HomeGlow is going to be my top pick. And frankly, in my opinion, it's the one that best addresses the most common reasons I hear my friends leaving MaidPro. so I think it's a really good fit. And that is it for today on Updweller. We're here to help you make your house feel more like home. So if you enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe and let us know in the comments what you'd like to see next.